Welcome to the channel. Pain in the Patoot here with another map guide for newer players. This one will be for Interchange. All right, so let's get started. Interchange actually is one of my favorite maps, and I found it relatively easy, excuse me, to get used to it. A lot of people don't like Interchange, and I think it's the complexity of the mall that scares a lot of people away. But in general, it's a fairly easy map to get around. So let me show you some of the reasons I say that. Okay, so starting off, I like it because of the shape. It is roughly a square map with extractions, railway, and Emercon being in the corners. So when you're outside of the mall, it's relatively easy to find the extraction points. These two extraction points, Emercon and Railway, are the same if you're playing as a scav or as if you're playing as a player. So you don't have to find different extraction points. Now, that makes a big difference. Makes a big difference, and you have to be careful when you're leaving if you're playing as a scav because you'll run into players and you can get people camping the exits. But other than that, it's easy to find them. So you don't have to worry about shifting. They're always open. So I always like that about this map. Now there's some alternate extraction points. There is a paid one here at the power station. There's a one here where you have to drop your backpack to get out, and there's one here where you need to extract with your opposite. So if you're playing as a scav, you need to get a PMC to go with you, and vice versa. And there's one other that is more or less underneath here, but rarely do people ever use it because it requires you going to the power station, flipping on a switch, and then taking a key card that you have to find up to the top level of the mall and going into the burger joint and into one of the toilets, if you can imagine, and flipping on a switch that opens the door. So really, as far as I'm concerned, forget about that. You may discover it open once in a while, and I would say get in and get out. Like run in there, see for if you have loot and leave, because if the door is open, somebody's a coming. All right, but anyways, again, the square nature of the map makes it very easy to do it. And it's also if all else fails, you can run the walls because each edge here is a wall that you can run. So if you get out to the wall, just follow the wall, and eventually it will take you to one of the extraction points. All right. So as for orienteering around this map, how do you get to the extraction points? Well, you can see here that there's a bunch of lovely roads that help you. So your reference points really, other than the extractions themselves, of course, there's the railway, which is very helpful. But the power station is a big reference point for you. And again, it does have a paid extract through the SUV, but I find that I use that as a reference point. There's also a big sign here that has the names of the stores on it for the front of the mall. So I also use that as a reference point. So what do I mean? Well, if you come out here out of the mall in these areas, which is possible, if the power station is on your right, you know that you can turn right and follow the road to get to Emercon, or you can turn left and follow the road to get to Railway. Pretty simple. If you come out of, I'll change color, if you come out of the mall here in any of these points, and the power station, which you can normally see because it has big stacks on it, if the power station is on your left, then you go left to go to the railway, and you can come up here to the wall and run along the wall. Or if it's on your left and you need to get to Emercon, you can follow the wall and come to the extraction to the right. So that is the big thing. There's only certain exits from the mall, either from the ground level where all the stores are or the underground where the parking is. So it's, over your right shoulder, go left for railway, right for Emercon. If it's over your power station's over your left shoulder or to your left, then go right for Emercon and left for railway. So that doesn't really matter where you exit over here. That rule applies. The same is a little bit different, but if you come out here and you can see the sign, then it's left for Emercon and right to the wall and run the wall to railway. If you come out of the front of any of these stores, which are here, I changed to red, red's a little easier to see. If you come out of the front of any of these stores through the main staircases or even through the underground exits, where there are, if you see the big sign to your left, then you need to go left. And again, you can get to the walls and follow it to Emercon, or if the sign is to your left, then you go right to get to railway. One other point of reference along here is you get these curved lamp posts all along here, so that's a good reference point to see. Um, the um, the big road here is a big blue backing wall, so it's kind of fairly obvious because it's a double roadway. You can also use this partially completed ramp as another reference point, but there's all these indications where you know where you need to go, and of course the roads themselves, these big lovely roads, are helpful. You can go down this road, and there is a tanker here, which is a good way to also know that you're running on the right way, but you just follow the road all the way to extraction. Follow the road more or less to this extraction. Follow the road more or less to this extraction. Follow the road sort of in that direction to the extraction. So very simple, as far as I'm concerned, for how you can um, get to the extraction points on this map, and that's what I like about this map. So let's jump over here to the interactive map, and I've got everything um, on it not shown, but I will jump to extractions and show it. This map is available from Map Genie, and you can get it by Googling Map Genie and going to Interchange. So I've added these extractions that I talked about. The one thing is I just have to make it a little tiny bit smaller. But there's the railway exit as I talked, and you can see the ramp and the railway and the lines here. There's a power station, which is a paid extract. This is a hole in the fence where you have to drop your backpack. And that's the Emercom checkpoint. So there you have those. Um, so that is to me why, and here's the one underground that I sort of recommended, not saying you have to turn the power on and go to the burger joint. Yeah, kind of ignore it. But you can see how it's a relatively good and easy map to get around using this. All right, so what else can I show you? I will turn off the extractions. Why else do I like this map? Well, it's got a good number of scavs on it for kills. These are all the points that the scavs will pop in. So if you need scav kills, this is a good map for you to find them. You can see here in the underground parking section, this is actually under the idea store, so they spawn here, as does, unfortunately, Killa, who is the boss for this map, and he's a little hard to kill. And this is under the Oli store, where they spawn. They can also spawn, although I don't know if I've ever seen one here, but they do spawn here on the roadway. They spawn at the back of the Oli store towards the Emercon exit. They spawn at the power station. They spawn in Idea above and below. They spawn in the center of the mall. They spawn in the Goshen food store. And they spawn in Oli on the ground floor and in parking. So there's lots of opportunity to kill spawns if you need scavs on this map if you need. And here are the points of reference, and this is why this map is so good. So we'll take those out. But other than that, one of the reasons I like this map is also because of it's got a really good loot. And you can see here activated all the loot. You can see there's gun spots down in the basement. There's med stuff. There's everything. And I'm going to take those out again. But there's a huge number of high value items and lots of items on this map. And that's, again, I do scav runs on this map almost exclusively, especially early on when I'm looking in particular for certain things. And so, what do I mean by that? There are one of the reasons I like the map is that it does have a lot of the materials that you need to complete tasks. So, for example, here on the power station, there's 3 computers. So, if you need computer parts, which you will, CPU fans, hard drives, graphics cards, which are high value items, they're all in the power station. Plus, there's toolkits. So toolkits have batteries, screws, nuts, bolts, all the stuff, a lot of the stuff that you need for completing tasks. If we go to the first store idea, and this is the other part I like about it, is outside you can clearly see, if you look at the front of the mall, which store is which. So that helps you orient yourself a bit. So idea is closest to power station. Oli is closest to Emercon. So if you're somewhere in the mall, if you start looking for it's got a green tint to it, and these are blue, all the walls are blue, all the walls are gray and green. So if you're in Idea and you know you have to go to Emercon, you can work yourself across the map to Oli and exit Oli. Okay, but Idea has in itself over here, they have an office with 3 computers. So again, computer parts, computer parts, computer parts. But behind that office area, there is a storeroom. And in that storeroom on the shelves, again, you find computer parts, you find power supplies, you can find your gas analyzers, which are hard to find. So there's lots of materials there. Um, they've kind of dumbed down the loot in Idea. It's not as good as it used to be, but what you find in Idea is what you typically would have in, supposed to be IKEA in a furniture store. So you can find statues. So if you need the horse statue or the cat statue or the bronze lion, you can find them on the shelves in the store. But they've cut down the spawn rate. It's not as great as it used to be. I usually come in and hit the office for parts and then leave if I'm not trying to kill scavs. So then here, which is Goshan, at the back of the mall, so opposite of the parking garage, closest to power station, you can actually come in here and run right up the ramp and you're in Goshen. It's the food store. So if you need any food items, which you will for your tasks, you can come in even as a scav and wander up and down the aisles looking for various canned goods, bottled goods. Um, I needed them for various tasks, and I would often scav in to get them, um, and even just have them for your raids, so you can consume water and energy in raids. It's a good place to go. At the back portion here, behind the store, there are some toolboxes for those types of items. And then finally, the Oli store. This is sort of the holy grail for this map. It's a hardware store. So you have along this wall there are offices with computers in them. Again, for those computer parts. But spread throughout the store are hardware items. So again, they're highly required for tasks, nuts, bolts, power supplies, propane tanks, car batteries. One of the best places to find car batteries is back here and along this wall in Oli. And just all kinds of goodies for home use, and also there's lots of scavs. Besides the office area for computers, there are 3 information kiosks, one here, and one here. You can see they have a sign hanging from the ceiling with I in a circle for information, and there's 2 computers in each one of those areas. Good to hit for the computer items, but otherwise it's all hardware items. All hardware items. There are some computers again in this office area at the back, a couple of them. So that's where you go if you need computer parts. If I'm looking for computer parts, this is the map I come to, Interchange. I skipped over Goshen. Goshen has two office areas, one here and one here. And again, they both have 4 or 5 computers for computer parts. So this is again one of the reasons I like this map. It's got all kinds of the stuff you need. Now it doesn't have any of the fancy the VPX storage devices, whatever. That's more reserve and other locations. But for the early part of the game when you need task items, this is one of the best maps to come to, and that's why I like this. So basically, so there just to run through what I like. I like it because it's square. This map, I like it's easy to get around as far as I'm concerned. I like there's lots of scav activity on this map in a relatively small area for scav kills. If you go into the mall, you're highly likely to run into players. So if you need player kills, but the mall has the main stores of Idea, Goshen, and Oli for quest items, whether they be computer, hardware, food items. This part of the store itself, there's a bunch of small stores, and they have a lot of good items in it. Um, just outside Oli, there's an electronics store here, which again for your graphics cards and gas analyzers. If you run up this flight of stairs, there's a electronics store here. Again, high percentage for those gas analyzers and computer parts. Then the only other place there is a electronics store here in the center of the mall. Again, I've had good luck finding the items I need for tasks there. The store, the Matrix, I think it's called, across the hall. It has a lot of med supplies, but also like statues and stuff. So it's another good location to hit. You'll find a lot of activity in this section of the mall. So if you want to avoid players, try to skirt the edges, go through the back doors. If you're looking for them, then head here and you'll get combat. So again, I started, but I never completed. I like the map because it's square. I like it's got extractions, easy to find. I like that because of the roads and the names on the fronts of the stores, it is relatively easy to navigate around. The other thing I like about it is you can, if you want, treat this more as a PVE instead of PvP. So in other words, if you want, you can actually avoid players, not completely because they all have to extract, and they all start outside the mall at some point. So if you're careful though, you can avoid players. So what I do when I'm trying to avoid players is I will come into the mall and go into the underground, and there's all kinds of loot items in the underground. For some reason, you don't get a lot of people down there. Once in a while, you will get them, but you don't often get them. I've run numerous what I call my little looting runs through the underground and never seen anybody. Got a few scav kills, but no other players. So I like to do that. And then the other part about it is you can stay outside the mall, which is the really hard part. If you're going to have to fight, it's going to be in the mall. But you can see how many of these caches there are on the map. So you can actually just go around the outside, hitting all the caches and extracting, and it'll certainly be worth your while financially. So what I do, depending on when I spawn or where I spawn, is I often will just do a cache run along here, across here, and then leave. And you get a lot of cash, a lot of money. When I say cash, not caches and holes in the ground. You can come out with a lot of money and a lot of your high volume, high value, whatever you want to call it, items needing for completion of tasks. Sort of the same here. If you come in and spawn into the power station, you can go along here and hit all these caches and get out. So you can avoid players if you're careful and come away with good money by either just staying completely outside the mall or going into the mall and using the underground, the lowest level parking. Okay, so that's again another reason to like this. So the final point I'm going to make about this map is spawn points. Here's all the spawn points in the game. Yeah, that's a lot and potentially close. So you have to be careful on this map what you do when you spawn in. I will often, what I often did when I was starting out is when I spawned, I would sit for a little bit. I would, there's times when you have to run in because you think you want to go grab something and you think other people are going to want to grab it. Like if you go into the power station looking for computers, once they're looted, you can't loot them. So um, you may have to run in and go do the search really quick and then get away. But depending on where you spawn in, sometimes the best strategy is to wait a minute to give other players, because everybody's going to head for the mall, but it gives other players a chance to vacate the area and makes it a little safer for you. So you can do that, or just be very, very careful in your running into the mall. So going back here, and I got all this junk on here, but really, I'll just do some quick things here. I'm just going to erase all this stuff. Okay, so we have the blank map here. So remember, there was a spawn point here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and potential spawn points all along here, and even at the top of the ramp. So all of these won't be having somebody spawn at them, but to be honest, there will be at least somebody at one of these spawn points. And that's why I say maybe if you wait a bit to allow these people to leave, to go somewhere else, then you can get into the mall safer. But if you can't do that, if you don't want to wait, then be cautious on how you enter. So one of the most common is right at the extraction point. So what's the strategy there? If you come this way, you have to worry about this guy here and this guy here. If you spawn here, it's very unlikely somebody will spawn there, but highly likely somebody will spawn here. You may get somebody there. So my favorite route into the mall from this spawn point is along the back wall, in here, and then into the mall. You have to be aware of this guy because I was one of the a-holes that loved to come down here and sit in ambush waiting for this guy to show up. If I ever spawn up here at the top of the ramp, I sit there and wait for this guy to come in. And I've gotten so many kills doing that. So that's the kind of thing you have to worry about. Another trick that I would do is if I ever spawned in here, I would immediately move down into this area to try to get this guy. So it is a good place. That's good advice if you're wanting kills. My point really is to give you just keep a heads up. If you come in and if you find yourself dying quickly, it's probably because you're not thinking your way into the mall. You can see a number of places here where there's a potential that you're going to get engaged by players early on in your spawn point. So again, if you come in here, be careful coming this way. Be careful running directly into the mall and up the ramp. Try taking a little backwards way. Try maybe waiting for a minute and a half or whatever. And you'll probably get into the mall a little bit easier. One of the best kills I ever got was I spawned in here And so a 3-man spawned in here. I came back and they were, I don't know what they were doing. They were getting ready to come in, and I wiped the 3 of them out. So um, you got to be very aware that, yeah, not every one of these spawn points will get populated with a player at every raid, but one of them will. So no matter where you come in, there'll be somebody else in the area spawning. So you have to be very careful starting your raid, um, how you get in. And again, I would recommend, if you're new to the game, waiting a couple minutes, and hopefully these people will clear away. If they don't see you immediately, count to 100 and then go in. Wait for 2 minutes. Doesn't really hurt you in the raid, um, but it will cause these people to suddenly move into the buildings. Okay, so that's my final thoughts on Interchange. Once again, it's got a whole bunch of loot within this map, and that's where I like it. You can, again, I would recommend using Map Genie and going to Interchange, and you can then look for individual items that you need. Even the quest items here, you get a map. Let me take the spawn points off. There's a map. Why I like this Map Genie, there's the location of some of the quest items, not a lot, and it actually tells you which quest um, the item is for. Now, this is a fairly, 50,000 foot view of it. Not a huge help for some of these, but the fuel tanker. Where's the other fuel tanker? Oh, there's a minibus. There's the other fuel tanker. There's the other fuel tanker. So there's 3 fuel tankers on this map you have to mark as part of your thing. There's a minibus. You need 1 minibus here, and if you go to the underground, there's the other 2 minibuses. So this is very helpful. Um, Not highly detailed to show you exactly, but it will give you a pretty good idea of the Christmas tree is gone. It'll give you a pretty good idea of some of the locations you need to move to complete your tasks. All right. So I hope this is of some use to you, and if so, I wouldn't mind a thumbs up or a subscription to the channel. Any questions, you can post them in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you.